Will that movie, will that be your biggest premiere?
It'll be my first premiere. Like I've never been in a movie
Red carpet
at all. Like, especially not as well. You know what? Take that back. I was in Goblin Slayer, but that didn't go to.
No, I didn't go. Yes.
So that's gonna be like my first movie that goes to theaters. So it's it's awesome, and especially because it's like, oh, this is something I'm really proud of. And I was proud of my work in Goblin Slayer too. That went to theaters is like, oh, I'm so glad because I worked super hard on that. But I'm ecstatic for this one.
You played Elena in Attack on Titan. I know that show is about to end soon. So how does that feel? Now that it's kind of come full circle and you're about to close a chapter on that character and on the show itself.
I know. Attack on Titan is another show that I'm a big fan of, prior to getting the role. So it's crazy to be a part of its ending, and to, close the chapter soon. It's like, because I've read the manga. I already know how, everything wraps up. So it's like, I know how much time I have left with my character. I know what she's gonna get into, and, I'm excited to portray the scenes that she will have, in this last part of the season. It's always bittersweet to say goodbye. So it's just about doing your best, I think, all the way to the end. That's all I can do. Honor the character.
If you could voice anyone you wanted, like past or present, who would you pick?
I'm gonna go for the past. I was a huge fan of Rainy and Sailor Moon, or Sailor Chibi Moon or Mini Moon. When I was little, my voice was basically I sounded like her. I'll listen to old clips and I'm like, oh shoot, I really did sound like her. But I think it would have been cool to play that bratty kid, the bratty, very sassy kid that for some reason has a fake gun, that she's just pointing at her mother, I think she would have been a fun role, for sure. Yeah.
Your role on Attack on Titan, final season, we kind of thought that character would be just a side character, but she was more influential to the show than, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I remember when I first saw her in the anime, I thought at first she was Armin. And I was like, oh, what is Armin doing here? And then I realized it wasn't Armin. She's definitely a character that she works behind the scenes. She is very stoic. She is very polite. She has that military upbringing and demeanor. But she doesn't really flaunt what she's trying to do. She is somebody who works very discreetly. And that's why she gets away with the things that she does. And I think even with my performance with her, it was always about never giving away too much, if nothing at all, It was always making sure that the viewer had nothing to really suspect with her. So I think it becomes a surprise when, you do have the turn of, the end of part 1 of the final season where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm actually trying to, work with Zeke and everything, and this has been my plan all along. But it's also, not super surprising either, so it's like she's very, what's the word? Smooth, just very smooth characters. I know what I'm doing, but I'm not gonna give up my secrets. I like that about her.
I want to talk about another franchise you were part of, Pokemon. How important was it for you being able to play Nessa, because that's such a a fan favorite character, of course, you know, like what sort of connection did you have with that one?
That one meant a whole lot because I grew up watching Pokemon and, you know, playing Pokemon, getting the cards and everything. Like, that was, I guess, technically my first anime. And I was super in love with it. And I loved Misty a lot, actually. Misty was one of my favorite characters, and I've always had an affinity for water. Water's like my favorite thing. Maybe it's, you know, being born and raised in Florida. But yeah, playing Nessa, it's like, you know, it's like, but playing Nessa, it's like, you know, it's like fulfilling a childhood dream, you know, like I remember seeing her in Sword and Shield and I thought she was so awesome, and then, you know, I got the auditions for Pokemon Twilight Wings. I saw her and I'm like, oh, wow, I love her, but I never expected to book her because, you know, at the time that I got those auditions, you know, I was still kind of early on in the industry, so, you know, never once did I think, oh yeah, I'm gonna book Pokemon and I'm gonna book like this character because I deserve this. Like, no, never once. I was just sort of like, I'm happy to be here. But yeah, but when I did book her, I was, you know, it was very like healing to my inner child, you know. I was excited and very sentimental. And I worked really hard on making sure that I did the best I could with her. I remember right before my session for Nessa, I sat outside by my pool and I was just kind of like thinking like what is going through her mind in the special and everything. And you know, I just felt very in tune with her, and it was just so easy to play her because it felt like I was playing myself in a way. And then I also knew how much she meant to the Black community, especially, you know, like, I mean, we had Iris before her, but I think Nessa was like the fan favorite for the Black community for sure. And I knew how much it would mean to them to have, you know, somebody Black playing Nessa, like, because I think for Iris we didn't have somebody Black, it was somebody else, so I guess this would have been a first in a way. And you know, it was an honor and a blessing, and I'm very grateful to have played her.
You've done a wide range of jobs like commercials, animations, anime, cartoons. Which category would you say you have the most passion about, and then which category would you say you have the most fun with?
I think in my head, like when I was figuring out like what fields I was interested in, I'm always more enamored with video games because I feel like you can tell so many interesting stories with video games. You know, I think of like The Last of Us, Nier, Final Fantasy and stuff. It's like, you know, it would be fantastic to, you know, have ownership over the character, not worry about lip flaps and everything or anything, but also like tell this like fantastical story. So I think video games is something that I'm very passionate about, and something I want to get more into. But I think I have the most fun with animation. Because it's just like sometimes you feel between like these like wacky, exaggerated performances, and sometimes you can just be chill and be human and be yourself, and you know, you also have so much creative control. You know, I could talk to the writer and be like, hey, you know, why does this character say this? Is it because of X, Y, Z? And then have a conversation with me. And so, you know, I always feel like with animation especially, it feels way more collaborative. I think that's like my favorite part about voice acting in general, how collaborative it can be. So I think animation is probably the one that I'm like, I have the most fun with, for sure.
Can you talk about your friendship with Zeno?
My friendship with Zeno, oh man. So what was it, the beginning of 2020. Was that when the movie came out? The movie with Hawks? Somewhere in 2020? I feel like it was.
20.
The second movie?
Yeah, the second movie. Was it 19 or 20?
I believe it came from November. I think it came out in the winter.
I think it was December or November.
Yeah, it was either one of those.
Either way, whenever it had the premiere, I remember Zeno like randomly reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to go to the premiere?" I'm like, "I don't even know you, but sure." You know, but also at the time I was like at home dealing with like family stuff, and I was like, you know what, thanks, but I'm actually gonna pass. So I changed my mind. But he is a very generous and honest and kind person. And I always vibe with that, you know? So he was somebody that I grew close with very quickly. And it's funny because like, I think the way we work is very similar. We will spend way too much time on auditions. We will ask for a lot of takes because we are determined to have the perfect acting choices every time. And just the way that we approach things is very similar. And so I respect him a lot. I respect his work. I respect his ability to be honest, both, you know, while recording and not recording. And I just think he's an amazing dude. He's pretty awesome.
I see you guys a lot on Twitter going back and forth, back and forth.
Oh yeah, sometimes I'll like mess with him on the whole Mirko thing. I don't personally care. He can be married to whoever he wants to be. But, you know, I like to tease him about that. And that's kind of actually part of why we got so close because, you know, he was the first person to really say, hey, I want Anairis to voice Mirko. And he was always going on about that. Constantly, and I remember messaging him about it, and he would tell me, I will put in a word for you, like I will do anything I can to make this happen. And you know, I almost want to say that, you know, he's probably one of the reasons why I got the role, or at least got the audition. So, you know, he's just very supportive, and he's always been supportive of me, and, you know, in turn I've always been supportive of him. So, you know, it's we're good friends, very good friends.
Is there anyone you ever wanted to work with, like within the industry? Someone maybe you looked up to, that you wanted to work with?
It would be amazing to work with Laura Bailey. But not like in an anime, right? Like I would love to work with her in an animation or like video game where like I can actually interact with her and bounce off of her. She's part of the reason why I got into voice acting in the first place. I remember in the Fullmetal Alchemist Conqueror of Shambhala movie, there's a commentary track and she was talking about how she, like her approach to auditioning for Lust, and she was going into like how, you know, it wasn't just about sounding sexy, like I needed to figure out where that was coming from and everything, and just discussing like, you know, how much thought there can be into voicing a character. And I never thought of it like that when I started, or when I first heard about voice acting. So I'm like, oh, it's like that? That's so interesting. And I've always loved her performances. I always loved the characters she's played, and I love her energy and everything. And I love how she's gone from, you know, being in things like Dragon Ball and Soul Eater and Fullmetal Alchemist to being in The Last of Us. Like her career has grown so much. And I was inspired to, I guess, have a career like her, be able to be as what's the word? Well-rounded as her, I guess. So I respect her a lot, and I think it would be amazing to work with her.
Yeah, that's a good choice. She's amazing.
Kind of building off of that, what can we expect from you in the future? Like, what type of projects would you like to work on, and what type of projects are you aiming to be on?
You can expect a lot more exciting things in the future that I can't talk about and I don't quite want to hint at, but you know, I am always working. There's more things to announce always. And you know, I'm hoping to work on more cartoons, you know, work on more video games especially. I want to get more into that. And, you know, I'm always learning. I'm always trying to do my best. I also want to get into casting, so it's something like, you know, I hope I can do in the future as well. And yeah, just keep your eyes peeled, keep yourself followed to my Twitter, because that's where I post everything immediately, because I have no self-control. Yeah.
Did you enjoy working on One Direct Priority and like the deep subjects that they touched on in the series?
Yeah, 100%. I watched the first episode of One Direct Priority and I fell in love with it because I didn't know what to expect at all. Like nothing at all. I'm just like, okay, this looks pretty, interesting name, let's go, let's see. I love emotionally honest shows. I think that's a very honest show. I think it's a very raw show that's not afraid to cover difficult topics. And I don't even think like they cover these difficult topics to have like, you know, trauma porn or anything, right? Like it's just like, hey, this is what it's like to be a teenage girl. And I respect that so much. And I love the characters. I love I especially. I is somebody that I really relate to. And so when I got the opportunity to audition, I was ecstatic. And when I booked Rika, I was, you know, even more ecstatic. I mean, she was a character type I hadn't quite played before. And she's, you know, someone who, the way that she handles her emotions is very different to how I handle my emotions. I tend to be more honest and be like, yeah, you know what, I am pretty down. But Rika is the type that will hide it with a smile. She is someone who will overcompensate in order to, you know, hide her feelings. And learning how to show my emotions like that, or show her emotions like that, was a challenge, but a very, you know, interesting challenge. And I think I learned a lot about myself while playing her. I found a lot of things that I related to when it came to her. And you know, I think it's a show that is very important. I hope that more people get to watch it. And you know, it's a blessing to play a character like Rika because I know she's like the most relatable one out of the bunch. So it means a lot to me. That show means a lot to me.
I guess I asked one more. Your reasons for wanting to be like a variety or more well-rounded voice actor, is that just your personal want for like video game more so and cartoons more so?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for me, like, I love being creative, you know, and my first love was writing, you know, and then I got into voice acting, which I feel like is kind of the same thing, you know, and I love indulging in media, you know. A lot of my favorites is Steven Universe and Undertale and Fullmetal Alchemist and all these things, and it's spread across different mediums, and I think it's amazing how many stories of different kinds that you can get from different places all over the world as well. And I would love to just be a part of as many amazing stories as I can. So that's my reason for wanting to, I guess, be more well-rounded, because I want to have more opportunities. I don't want to be limited to just one thing. You know, I want to just be out there and be creative. That's always been my thing.
Do you have any advice for other people attempting to voice act?
Have fun. That's like my number one, because I feel like now in the age of social media, everyone wants to monetize every hobby that they do, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna play video games. I'm gonna stream on Twitch, and then I'm gonna get paid for it, like that. Like, you know, you wanna. I think people want success like immediately with the things that they get into, and for me, when I started voice acting, like, you know, I didn't care about the money or the popularity. I was like, hey, this is fun. You know, this is really cool. And so I always like emphasize, like, make sure you're having fun, you know, make it a hobby, but don't expect too much at the beginning. And find your passion for it, because it's such a hard field full of so much rejection. Your job isn't quite voice acting characters like Mirko or Rika or whatever. Your job is auditioning and accepting that you will not book like 90% of what you audition for. And so, I feel like the passion is like your foundation, because when you're dealing with the rejection, you can always fall back on the passion, And aside from that, take classes, talk to your peers. I always recommend this site called Voice Acting Club. It's like this fantastic site made by Kira Buckland, who it's like the site where you have people who are new, up and coming, and then you also have professionals like me, AJ Beckles, and other people who want to share our expertise, want to discuss the industry, and I feel like it's like the epitome of like the voice acting community, because the voice acting community is so kind. We lift each other up. We're not exactly super like, oh, I'm better than you. Like I'm gonna get all the roles, not you. Like we want everyone to succeed. So I always recommend like joining those sites and like making friends, because it means a lot in this industry, and I think it makes all of the rejection and struggles like worthwhile.